Yes, it's been 3 months since I last dyed my hair, and I should have about 1.5 inches of growth. When I did my first film, it was about 5 or 6 days after the 2 month point because I was just a little behind schedule. And so I've wanted to kind of stay with that time frame with doing my filming so that it would be really about a month each time I film and then show you where I'm at in the point of progression. So things I've noticed along the way, I'll show you in a second, but things I've noticed along the way, yes, if you saw one of my more recent videos about my initial reaction once I came to the solid, in a complete alignment within myself, no hesitation anymore, no wondering anymore, I 100% knew for sure, yes, this is what I'm doing. The surprising emotion that I felt, which was freedom. And within that freedom, there was just a sense of peace, of just letting something go that I didn't even realize had been stressing me out in the way that I eventually ended up recognizing that it had. So that was sort of interesting. Since then, because I filmed that spot the same day I filmed my 2 month point video. I filmed enough footage for I think 3 or 4 films that day. So what I wasn't aware of at that point was the different emotions that would then ensue after that. Most of the time it's been great. Most of the time I look at the new color coming in and I'm really happy about it, really excited about it, looking forward to seeing how it grows in and what it'll ultimately look like, because it's already gone through different changes in just the amount of time that it's been growing. And I've heard or read from woman after woman after woman who's transitioned either for much longer periods of time than I have, or who have already completed their transitions, say that it just keeps changing. So it's really hard to judge it before it really either gets long enough to really 100% certain know, or until you're finished with your transition. So keeping that in mind, it's kind of like this surprise package that you know, have you ever seen that where you go to a store and they have you surprise packages, you don't know what's in it, but you just pay for the bag or the box, and then you take it out and open it, and you know, you hope you're gonna like it. Well, I kind of feel like it's this ongoing sort of ever opening surprise package that sort of keeps blossoming and sort of opening, but that I won't really see the final opening until a much longer period from now. So in a way, it's kind of fun in that regard. So some of the other emotions that I have felt were, there really have been a few days where I just haven't liked it. I haven't liked the color. But what I have noticed is that on those days, I just wasn't really in a great space. Normally I'm in a really great space and in a happy mood, optimistic mood, looking forward to things kind of a mood. And when I'm in those kind of normal moods, I tend to like the color. There have been a few days where I just was, there was a couple days I was kind of grumpy, and I don't even remember about what, or I don't even know if there was really a reason. It wasn't directly about my hair though. I was just grumpy about something else, I guess. And those days, I really didn't like my hair. I mean, really, when I looked in the mirror, I thought, what was I thinking? This was the worst idea ever. I probably should just dye it because I don't like this. I don't like this color. My saving grace was that I had enough presence of mind to think, you know, you thought a long time about this before you really felt certain about doing it, so don't throw it away in one red hot minute, especially because I was aware of the fact that I wasn't in the best space. But I truthfully was thinking that I was seeing things very accurately. I really thought the way I was feeling about the graying color of my hair that those days was more the real way, that more accurate to be viewed that way. And that I felt like I was just sort of in this illusional, giddy, kind of euphoric, almost like illusion or something the rest of the time. Fortunately, I just wouldn't let myself do it. I thought, you know what, you took a really long time to come to this choice. At least take 2 or 3 days to see if this is really how you feel. Thank goodness I did that, because as soon as I returned back to my happy mood, I went right back to thinking that the real color, the whites, the silvers, are really pretty. And I was really super happy that I hadn't gone off and dyed my hair. Today, I'm actually really tired. I've been working really hard renovating a space next door to where I'm living, and it's just kind of, it's getting to me a little bit. I'm really, really tired, and I also didn't sleep all that well last night. So I'm not really grumpy, but I'm just really tired. And today again, as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, I'm just not liking it as much as every other day. But that's okay, because I'm pretty sure it's just a passing thing. But I wanted to share that with you because it might make a difference for someone else. Maybe you, if you have chosen or will end up choosing to do this for yourself, meaning transition into your natural hair color, which is probably some kind of silver, white, gray kind of thing, I'm guessing, if you're watching this video. And you may, more likely than not, have an occasional day now and then where this just maybe seems to you like this wasn't the best idea. And my advice would be, don't go dye it in just one red hot minute, because chances are, like me, you've probably thought about this for quite some time before choosing to make this leap, for the variety of reasons that really go into it in making this choice. Partly because of all of the reasons, whether we were conscious of them or not, as to why we were dyeing our hair in the first place. I think that sounds like I could make a video off of that subject, so I might just do that at a different point. Okay, so without further ado, let's get to looking at my regrowth. I'm sure you're all just anxious to see it. Growth. Okay, so let's look. Okay, now, oh yeah, I have some other things to share too. All right, well, let's look first, and then I'm going to share with you just different observations that I've noticed since I made my last video. So on this side, this is my left side, this is where one of the whiter patches is. And we have some more in here, and we can see this is coming out to here now. I think it was probably about there when I filmed last. Yes, I have some tips too on how to not drive yourself crazy with anticipation, but I suppose, I don't know if I should talk about that here. I don't know if that'd be a long video or not. All right. See, it's darker in this area, then it's whiter there again. Then over here I have some white. I think I told you in another video that I started going gray on this side. I got at least 3 gray hairs on this side before I got them anywhere else. Probably I had more. Alright, and if you saw my no poo video, I'm experimenting with not shampooing. So my hair, it's a transition, and I'm not going to talk too much about that here because it's just so much information that it should just be on its own video, because I think I like short videos, and and I try to be conscientious about that to other people as well. Alright, so for me, one of the things that I feel is beneficial for my particular growing out stage, which may or may not be the same for you or someone else watching this, is I have cowlicks, and my hair has been cut to take advantage of cowlicks, so that one of them kind of creates this swirl, which is cool because it has this lift that comes up and over. And also, I'm not 100% solid white or gray really anywhere, but especially up in this front yet, which, probably soon enough I will be, because that's one thing I was noticing, and probably most people go through this, is that it starts coming forward to the hairline more and more and more, the whites, the grays, and we start to realize that continuing with dyeing is already getting harder, and it's probably going to become just stupid, near impossible. What are we going to do, dye it every 4 days? Like, probably not, right? And because it's not 100% solid gray, because I have some little browns. I don't know if you can see this in here. I know the lighting isn't super great in here right now, so it might not be the clearest, but like here's some darker parts right in here, but I also have lighter browns, which are almost the same color as the fading dye, which is strange to me. I don't really understand that. But the helpful thing, at least for right now, to me, is that it kind of helps blend it, I feel. If it were just 100% solid, I feel that there would just be such a line of demarcation. That said though, I have seen some pictures of some women who do have exactly that, and at certain stages, I have felt it looked really cool. And so I think that there's probably ways to find whatever your hair growth pattern is doing, if you're growing out your natural color. And I think there's ways to kind of just rock it, you know, and just make it like a cool thing. And I think if you think it's a cool thing, then you're going to be emitting a vibe and an energy about you. And I think that it just kind of makes people respond like it's a cool thing, or they just don't even really notice. Right, and speaking of noticing, now there's still many people I haven't seen since I made my 2-month video, but the ones in particular I've been kind of waiting to see if their eyes flick up here or if they make any comments. So far they haven't said anything and their eyes haven't been flicking up here. I don't know if they've noticed yet. Maybe they're just so into their own thoughts or whatever's going on for them they haven't noticed. Or maybe they still think I'm just really late in dyeing my hair. I don't know, but I am just kind of waiting for a good laugh off of something, and I haven't had that satisfaction yet. So I will definitely keep you posted when that happens. Hoping it at least happens once, because I just think that'd be so fun. But anyway, hasn't happened yet. All right, what else was I going to tell you? There was something else I wanted to share. Boy. What was it? I know it was about growing up. Oh, yes. After I made my 2-month video, which was already 5 or 6 days exactly past the point when I had dyed it 2 months before, so it was 2 months and 5 or 6 days, okay? I would say about another week after that, so it was really at about the 2.5 month point from when I had dyed my hair last. Even though my hair is in this swirl and all of that, it really started to change to me what I was seeing in the mirror. I felt like just in that little span of those 5 or 6 days, from that one point to 5 or 6 days later, it started to really shift in terms of how much more of the white I felt I was just seeing when I looked in the mirror. Whereas prior to that point, I felt like it just blended pretty well and that it wasn't all that noticeable. And it was interesting to me that it just visually changed so much within just a few days span of time. Now, again, I've got wavy hair, I've got this swirl, I've got my own coloration patterns. All these things might be different from like what else someone else might have. And all of our different various facets that we've each got going on may play a part in when or how this all starts showing up for somebody else. So I couldn't say that that'll happen for you, or if it would be in that time frame if it were to, but I just thought that that was interesting that I noticed that for myself. And so I thought that I would share that with you because it definitely started to change. And I also have some other things to share with you. A friend of mine gave me this really awesome headband. I had tried other headbands and I felt like I did not look good in them, and so I'd pretty much given up on them. And a friend of mine surprised me with one that really works for me, and I want to show that with you. So I'll have that in a video coming up soon, so stay tuned for that if you want to check that out. Personally, I go around like this most of the time. I personally think it looks pretty cool. Maybe that's just my point of view. Or maybe it does look better than maybe other people when they go through their transition phases. Maybe mine blends a little bit better. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's just the way that I see it. Maybe I'm, maybe I've got rose-colored glasses on about it all. I don't really know. I think we each have to decide for ourselves, but for me, I overall think that this is a really fun journey. And I'm embracing the experience and I'm digging the experience overall. Yeah, there's some other things that happen. Gosh, I keep thinking of things to tell you. And I feel like I want to include it because it was part of what I've experienced between the 2nd and the 3rd month. But somewhere shortly after I made my last batch of videos in July, in the July 15, 16 timeframe, I would say maybe within a week after that, I actually had a lot of emotions. I actually had joined a Facebook group called GGG, and then in parentheses it says Going Great Guide. I joined a couple other ones too, but I really like the GGG group the best. And a lot of the pictures that I see in other groups are also typically on the GGG, so I tend to just go there. It's really a warm place. Everybody's really embracing and complimentary, and they support one another. And if someone's having a bad moment or a bad day, all these women will write and they'll say wonderful things and encouraging things. And when I joined, I just kind of looked at it like, oh, I think this will just be fun. I didn't really feel like I was joining a support group because I felt like I needed support. I really didn't look at it that way at that point. And I thought it'd just be fun to look at pictures and to say nice things to women and maybe put my own up sometime and have them say nice things to me. I really didn't think I was going to have this emotional difficulty anywhere along the way where I was going to need this support. But you know what happened was I kind of went through this weird stage for a short time. I wasn't like depressed, I was overall happy, but I would have these moments that would come out of nowhere and I would just start crying. And what was sort of coming to my mind, it never got 100% really clear. And I had thought that it was going to develop and that I would get the full picture, and maybe it will at a later point, but this whole thing kind of seemed to stop. So I don't know if it will come back and if I will ever gain the fullness of the clarity that I sort of thought I was going to have. But what was occurring for me in my mind when this would happen was I just was really present to that I'd been like almost like beating up on myself by, and like squashing myself by living into this this way of being that so many of us have without much thought. Like we started dyeing our hair without much thought, right? I started dyeing my hair when I was 17, not for gray hairs, but I dyed it black the first time just for fun. Then I wanted it out. That's a whole nother story. And I went through a really hard time for a really long time trying to get it out. Then I was constantly color correcting the ends because they were constantly turning orange from having had been dyed. So I never saw my virgin hair again. I never thought that was going to happen. I just never really thought that much of it. But then that kind of slipped from constantly trying to correct it because I didn't want to chop off my hair. And I was actually in the process of aiming to grow it longer at the point that I dyed it in the first place. So I sure didn't want to cut it off. And then, I was years of just constantly trying to color correct because every time I'd be coloring it, there was just more damage going on when that would start to fade. So that became its whole thing. And then eventually I had enough gray hairs where I needed to color up here, or needed to, right? Because that's what we think. That's just how everyone is, and so we just think it's that way. And so I never was dyeing my hair because I felt bad about myself. On the contrary, I felt like it was giving me vitality and youthfulness and vibrance and presence and an active place within society. And I say I thought it gave me that, but again, I wasn't even really thinking of all that when I was doing it. It's just that when I thought of gray hair, I had that perception of like, oh, it makes you look done, makes you look older. So there was just a lot of subconscious stuff, a lot of subconscious ingraining that's just experienced by mass consciousness for the most part regarding this. And so I was just really present to the fact that I had this sort of a feeling that, again, I still felt that I hadn't really become clear in my mind with thoughts as to what the fullness of it really was. But I just felt like I had actually, in reality, been bashing myself down for all of these years, like, keeping like clamps on myself and not being able to be me. But I never realized that any of the time that I was dyeing it. So it was interesting because all of a sudden there I was with these emotions, and I would just cry intermittently, and I would feel this tremendous pain, but it felt cleansing and it felt good in a way. So I didn't try to stop myself from feeling it. I didn't try to deny it. I sat with it. I was present to it. That's a way of being mindful. If you've heard of mindfulness or being in the now, that is one way of being in the now, of being mindful, is being present to your emotions, especially when they're the difficult ones. It's really easy to be really in with the really good ones, but sometimes we want to shove off the ones we don't like, or we want to ignore them, or pretend that there's something else, or do anything to distract ourselves. And I really went into it when I was having that, because it did feel like there was a cleansing, and that felt like it was a healing, and I sensed that it was going to be good on the other side of it, that a new me I'd never met before would emerge. And I have been shifting, but I've been on a spiritual path for a long time too. So there's been a lot of shifting in my life for many years, but there has been a point recently where a lot of shifting again has been taking place. And I do feel that part of my letting this come out now is at least a part of what I have been experiencing with that lately. I also sense that if I had never dyed my hair, if I had just let it go natural from the time that I was 18 or even in my 20s or whatever, I don't know that I would be going through the same thing. I kind of don't think so. I just think that because I dyed it for so long, that different things were in the mix that I wasn't even aware of. And so I don't mean to make, a movie out of a video, but I just wanted to share that with you in case you happen to be someone who ends up going through some emotional purging. And it may be different things that come out, like whatever was true for you that you might not have even been aware of may be different than what was true for me that I wasn't aware of. But you might just know that there could be some purging, and I would encourage you just to go with it instead of fighting it. You don't have to think something's wrong. No, it's kind of a cool thing, I felt. So I hope my sharing that might make a difference for you if you are someone who ends up going through something like that. Anyway, I think I'll wrap it up for now. I believe I've given you the most important parts of the things that I've observed between when I filmed on month 2 and when I'm filming now for month 3. So anyway, if you are considering growing your own hair, silvers, whites, grays, whatever, out, well, I encourage it, but I also know you have to be ready. If you'd like to learn more about my journey or follow with me to hear what I might share with you, then please consider subscribing. If you liked anything here, please give this video a like, and if you feel like sharing, I actually do read comments. I may not get to them within a day or two, but I usually do get to them, and I do like reading them. So thank you to those who have been leaving them. I really like them a lot, and they really mean a lot to me, especially when you say nice things. All right, peace out, people.